Taehyung's hearing loss is honestly something I cannot stop thinking about. BTS V's story that genuinely hurts is not only the fact that he has been dealing with hearing problems for such a long time, but the fact that he apparently reached a point where he started believing that his physical condition was somehow a problem with his own willpower. Hearing loss is a medical issue. It is not something that becomes less real because someone is determined, disciplined, hardworking, or mentally strong. Yet Taehyung explained that after his hearing problems began and became worse during his military service, people around him apparently told him that it was a matter of willpower because everyone there was expected to give their absolute best. He said that after hearing this repeatedly, he became almost hypnotized into thinking of his condition as a willpower issue himself. That sentence is honestly one of the most heartbreaking parts of what he shared, because it shows how easily someone can begin doubting their own body when the people around them repeatedly minimize what they are experiencing. And this is exactly why people are bringing up the issue of toxic masculinity. There is a harmful idea in many environments that men are supposed to tolerate pain silently, never complain, never admit that they are struggling, and keep going no matter what is happening to their bodies. But there is nothing masculine or admirable about ignoring a serious health problem. Real strength is not pretending that you are fine when you are not. Real strength can mean recognizing that something is wrong and getting professional help. If someone is struggling to hear properly, telling them to simply try harder does not solve anything. It can actually make the situation psychologically worse because the person may start blaming themselves for something that is outside their control. Imagine having difficulty hearing someone and instead of being told, "You should get this checked," being made to feel like you simply aren't trying hard enough. Eventually, you might start questioning yourself, am I actually weak? Am I not trying enough? Why can't I overcome this? That is a deeply unhealthy way to approach someone's health. Taehyung's own words make this especially concerning because he did not simply say that he had a temporary inconvenience. He explained that his ears had been causing problems for roughly 2 to 2.5 years and that he had recently gone to the hospital to have them checked. When Jungkook asked whether things had improved, Taehyung described a significant difference between his ears, explaining it by saying that if one side could hear at 100, the other could hear at around 30. He also said that he had been taking his medication consistently and that he was making sure to go to the hospital frequently. Those details show that this is something he is actively managing and taking seriously. It makes his earlier experience even more upsetting because the appropriate response to a persistent hearing problem should have been medical evaluation and support, not an assumption that the person simply needs more mental strength. And honestly, Jungkook's reaction says a lot too. When Taehyung explained that he had internalized the idea that his hearing problem was a matter of willpower, Jungkook immediately pushed back against that way of thinking. His response was essentially that Taehyung could not approach it that way. That is important because sometimes people who have been told to push through their problems for long enough begin to believe that resting, seeking help, or admitting they are struggling is somehow unacceptable. Someone reminding them that their health comes first can be incredibly meaningful. Taehyung did not need to be told to become stronger. He needed to know that what he was experiencing deserved medical attention. The military context is also why many people are uncomfortable with this story. Military environments are often built around discipline, endurance, teamwork, and completing difficult tasks despite discomfort. Those qualities can be important, but there has to be a clear line between encouraging resilience and dismissing legitimate medical symptoms. Discipline should never mean ignoring illness. Endurance should never mean refusing treatment. And being expected to work hard should never mean that someone has to convince themselves that a physical condition is imaginary or simply a failure of determination. If a person's hearing is deteriorating, the responsible response should be to assess the condition, understand its cause, provide appropriate treatment, and make reasonable accommodations when necessary. That is not giving someone special treatment. That is basic responsibility toward a person's health. What makes the situation particularly sad is the psychological effect of repeatedly hearing that message. Taehyung used the idea of being hypnotized into thinking it was a willpower issue, which suggests that the message was repeated strongly enough that he started accepting it himself. This is something people should take seriously. When someone in authority or within a demanding environment repeatedly tells you that your physical limitations are simply a matter of effort, it can become difficult to distinguish between genuine resilience and self-neglect. You may begin pushing yourself beyond what is reasonable because you feel guilty for admitting that something is wrong. You may think that everyone else is working hard, so you have no right to complain. You may even feel embarrassed about going to the doctor because you think you should be able to solve the problem yourself. That mindset can be extremely damaging. And I think that is why so many ARMYs reacted emotionally to this conversation. It is not simply, Taehyung has hearing problems. It is the realization that he may have spent a significant amount of time dealing with something physically difficult while also being influenced to believe that he should overcome it through willpower. Nobody should have to carry that kind of burden. Especially when a person is already living in a demanding environment. The last thing they need is to feel guilty for having a health problem. Being sick does not make someone less hardworking. Having an injury does not make someone less disciplined. Needing medication does not make someone weak. And needing a doctor does not mean someone has failed. There are also discussions among fans about Taehyung previously experiencing discomfort related to his in-ear monitors during performances. Those concerns are worth asking about, especially if an artist repeatedly experiences pain or discomfort from performance equipment. Artists depend heavily on audio equipment, and hearing protection and proper monitoring are extremely important for performers. However, it is also important to separate concern from confirmed medical causation. Unless Taehyung himself, his doctors, Big Hit Music, or HYBE have publicly established that specific equipment problems cause his current hearing condition, we cannot responsibly state that as a fact. It is completely fair to ask whether previous equipment-related complaints were properly addressed and whether appropriate precautions were taken. But we should not turn an unconfirmed connection into a definite medical explanation. What we can say with certainty from Taehyung's own account is that he has been experiencing hearing-related problems for years, that he sought medical treatment, that he is taking medication consistently, and that he continues to visit the hospital. Those are the things that matter most right now. Rather than trying to diagnose him from clips, fans should encourage proper medical care and respect his privacy. Hearing loss can have many possible causes, and only qualified medical professionals who actually evaluate the patient can determine what is happening. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe for more K-pop insights and updates. Your subscription and a like on this video would help us a lot.